20 years ago, when I decided to embrace a Torah true lifestyle, probably the most influential figure that led to that decision was this man, this sage, this tzaddik, this righteous master, the Holy Arizal. It was through him that it was the first time that I have ever heard of the Kabbalah. And the basic foundations of creation were because of something called breaking of the vessels, that there were these primordial energies and dimensions and realities that had shattered, and sparks of godly light had fallen into the physical world and were hidden within the world. And it was our job to come into the world to be able to elevate these sparks, to be able to return these godly sparks of light back to their source. And how do we elevate those sparks of divine light, you ask? The Arizal and the Kabbalistic masters explain that the only way to truly elevate these sparks is through learning and practicing the deep meditative practice of kavanot. And the ultimate redemption, the final geulah, and the fulfillment of the purpose of creation cannot happen until all of the sparks are elevated. And I was like, that is awesome. It's so much better than the Judaism that I had ever heard of growing up as a kid. The question was now, how could I learn the kavanot? It was here in the ancient cave of Shem and Ever that I found a small group of Sephardic traditional Kabbalists that welcomed me and initiated me into the secret meditative kavanot of the Arizal. I learned all about the 10 Sefirot, the 4 worlds, all of the divine names of God, and I had all of the tools now to start elevating them sparks. And after years of super intensive study and discipline and practice, I had mastered the kavanot. I had like Hebrew letters flying through my mind most of the day. I was living with purpose. My Judaism had meaning, and it was really, really exciting knowing that I just wasn't this religious robot, but that I was really doing God's work, elevating all of the sparks. And though my teachers kept telling me that I had reached the pinnacle of Kabbalistic practice, it just wasn't enough. I still wanted more. It was exciting knowing that I was engaging my mind in this deep meditative practice, but what about the heart? It wasn't just enough knowing that I was serving God. I wanted to feel it. And that's when I discovered Hasidus. Learning about the Baal Shem Tov and his new approach to Jewish mystic spirituality, I was completely blown away. Through song and dance, joy and love, one could attain the deepest connection with the Creator, and one could attain super conscious states of dvekut, of divine ecstasy and bliss. So I started working my way through 300 years of Hasidic books. And there were a lot of books. The Baal Shem Tov said that the divine names, the kavanot, were like keys that could unlock the supernal doors, but that the heart had the power to break open all of the gates of heaven. And after I devoured all of those books, I started asking myself, so who's the Hasidic master in this generation? Who can I learn from today? And that's when I discovered the Lubavitcher Rebbe. And in his last public talks that he gave in 1991, 1992, this living master and leader of the generation drops the bombshell. We have completed our mission, he says. There are no more sparks. And I was like, what? Wait, no more sparks? No more sparks? Well, what the heck have I been doing for the last decade? But in those talks given in 1991, 1992, he clearly says discourse after discourse Our collective work over the generations has elevated all of the sparks. What? That Israel has done tshuva. Huh? The world is ready for the ultimate redemption and the revelation of God's light. Huh? The only thing left to do is open our eyes. Ah! I didn't know what to do with myself. I felt completely thrown into this spiritual existential crisis. I had spent so many years working on elevating these sparks, and along comes the Lubavitcher Rebbe and says there are no more sparks. But deep down, I knew that God wanted me to go down this path and that there's no such thing as coincidence. And so instead of dwelling on the past, I decided to get back up and start asking myself, okay, if there are no more sparks, then now what? And I know that it starts with believing in ourselves, believing in the good within us, believing in the good within others, believing that there is good in the world. And our job now is to constantly stay in this positive mindset, to constantly strive to see that good within ourselves, within others. Yes, evil still exists for the meantime. And though I might have my own personal things that I still need to work on, those things are minor issues and cannot block us, can't prevent us from attaining Mashiach consciousness and living Geula. And that our work now is to not be fooled by the external reality of the world. Totally different mindset, knowing that we've done the work. The food is already prepared. The table is already set. And it's just a matter of time before we get to start the meal. I don't know. What do you guys think? Is it naive thinking that the world is ready for this ultimate shift in human consciousness? Or are we in the 50th gate of Tuma and impurity? I don't know about you, but if I have the choice of seeing the world as this burning hellhole of filth and Tuma and impurity versus thinking the world is like in a state that is a couple of minutes before Shabbat, the table is set, the food is prepared, and we're about to light candles. And the only thing left to do are those last minute finishes before this cosmic Shabbat begins. I don't know about you, but if I had to choose, I would definitely choose that. The Rebbe says it and I believe him, and I choose positivity. I choose the good. I choose Geula. So did the Lubavitcher Rebbe ruin my life? Well, he definitely destroyed the old perception that I had, that I was living in a broken world and that I was broken and that the world was a dark place of evil and destruction and chaos. But that negative limiting belief was replaced with a new positive empowering belief in good. I believe in good. So my challenge for you and for me as well is, what can you do today to start living Geula? What can you do today to start making your life extraordinary? Put that in the comment below. I would love to hear about it. Let's talk about it, because that's the only way we're actually going to be able to stay positive, to be able to see the light, is by supporting one another, by being here for one another, constantly helping and strengthening each other. That's how we're going to do it. Have an extraordinary day. Love y'all. Peace.